I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, November the 8th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. That's Dakota Moss and several agents that work with him all around the midsection of the country there. They are your LRP specialists, but they also specialize in pasture range forage rainfall coverage there. So if you're interested in any of those kind of policies, get a hold of them at livestoccriskservices.com. Cattle futures Fiasco, and I've seen producers, buyers, market men, all the like that I visit with on a regular basis. Cattle feeders, I've seen them frustrated with the cattle futures before, but probably never as bad as I'm seeing it right now. And like I said, it's an absolute fiasco. The analysts, especially the technical analysts, are looking for some bearish cattle news somewhere, and they can't seem to find it because there is none. Everything that's fundamental is bullish, but your cattle futures are completely dominated by the computerized algorithms. And so, and of course they don't have any sense, any conscience, or any feelings. So, whenever you get a little bit of trade one way, they just take over and run that thing nearly to the limit. And now they've got these daily limits so large that it's enough to take your head off. And it's kind of doing that. They don't have to follow in any way, shape, or form your cash market because they've got such a wide daily limit. They can catch right up on the last day of trade when there's no open interest left. Nobody's going to take delivery of the live cattle. You've got cash settlement on the feeder cattle, but like I said, doesn't even have to get close until the last day. It's very frustrating. We've seen our wholesale beef is failing. If you believe the spot market box beef cutout value reports, but like I said, I just find it so hard to believe that they can't get those prices up any more than that. They set the price. It's not that they're auctioning off the beef, guys, and it's not that they've got shoppers coming through there bidding on the beef. No, they set the price for the beef, and they either have takers or they don't. Why would they price it so low, move product that they really don't have any extra of whenever they know that they need it to fill their contracts and their out-front purchases? It seems very suspect to me. But as far as the cattle futures, I think the CME should take ownership of this failure. It's absolutely their fault. All the recent changes that have been made to your cattle futures over the last several years have been for the short positions, and it has absolutely run all the longs off. We don't have anybody that wants to take the long side of the board anymore. Of course, as an industry, we always take the short side, and I told you in a recent visit, if you're borrowing money and feeding cattle or raising cattle, you can't take the long side. Your lender will not allow you to take the long side. So who's going to take the long side? Well, it's going to be your speculators or your managed money, something like that. Maybe your packers, or maybe a derivative company of your packers, and then they're going to run it one and then the other. But we don't have any longs right now to take the long side to hold this thing up. We've got all these LRPs, and we've probably got more people hedging their risk on cattle with the addition of the LRPs than we've ever seen before. And you think, well, the LRPs, that's a government subsidized insurance policy, and it doesn't affect the board. The insurance companies have to protect themselves, and when they're coming in and hedging their risk, it's the same way. And when it pushes it and those algorithms take over, it just runs it all the way to the bottom. But also these bettors on the market, these speculatives, and we got the managed money. We've got safer things that they can place money in that pays a decent interest now. CDs aren't that bad now, as high as interest are, but they can put them in a lot of things without all the risk that they know a whole lot more about, and kind of keep their money safer. So I don't know what we're going to do with this futures market. It is a dead weight anchor on cattle prices, and really doesn't have anything to do with what cattle prices are until the last day of trading. But whenever we're sitting out here looking way out front to a December maturing live cattle contract, it is really dirty pool the way that this futures market is screwing with your cattle market, your cash cattle market, whenever we've got a right to be at all-time record highs. We're very near all-time record highs, but we can't push anymore because of this lead balloon called the futures market. But December live cattle futures down 255 at 178.77. February down 355 at 178.42. Your back months were all down $3.15 to $4 lower, and that's your April, all important April. And let me remind you, the most recent weighted average on your 5 area cash, negotiated cash fat cattle was almost 185, 184.89, and your December spot live cattle is 178.77. It's ridiculous. If they would make it where you could demand delivery of those cattle, it would fix that. But CME does not like delivery, but they should make it that way. We could get some people in there that had some trade to them. They would demand delivery of those cattle at 178.77, or if it gets this far below what your cash price is, and would even that thing out. November feeder cattle down 495 on Tuesday at 232.22. January down 560 at 230.82. And your back months down 517 to 587. Corn for December down 8 3/4 cents at 468.5. Beans for November up 8 1/4 cents at 1348 3/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for December down 13 1/4 at 632.5. Your fat cattle trade doesn't change. Your fat cattle trade hasn't moved in the last 6-8 weeks as much as what your board moves in one day, and that's because it's got something tied to it, guys. Boy, it's frustrating. Iowa, they talked some people in Iowa into selling. They sold 1,600 head. Packers talked them into taking 180 when the market's 185. How do you like that? Dress market 285 to 288 in Iowa. Nebraska at 100 head confirmed at 290. No trade in Kansas or Texas. I actually went to Stockman's livestock market in Yankton, South Dakota. Greg Ryken's sale barn there. He bought me a steak. I was tickled about that. Didn't really need it, but I sure ate it. And Gary Marks, that has turned out to be a friend and just a retired fat cattle buyer that loves the sale barns, and he's there. And he's paying attention to the market, and he gives me an update on what's going on. And it's really the only place I can get it, because the sale barn people are too busy to get it out that quick. And the Federal State Market News Service doesn't think that the largest fat cattle auction in the nation needs covering. And they've got a pretty major office just a few miles up the road. Can't seem to get over there and report that market. I'm embarrassed to have worked as long as I did for Federal State Market News. But they have really good fat cattle. Quality was outstanding. Hadn't seen fat cattle that fat for a long time, really, since I worked out in Pennsylvania, Dutch country, and in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. But my gosh, did they have some fat cattle, especially some heifers there. You got a ring full of heifers with prime pones and round creases pooching out, 3 or 4 inches. You know they're prime cattle, guys. But 1,600 head in overnight, 2,300 head for the total fat cattle auction there in Yankton, South Dakota. Conventional cattle were basically $1 lower from 178 to 184. The program cattle, they were selling the non-implanted and drug-free cattle that we call program cattle were steady to 2 lower from 182 to 186.75. Gary Marks said it looked like they were really trying to buy all the cattle in the sale barn there for 288 dressed and down. They just didn't want to push the market any more than that. But there was still competitive bidding. They still bring more than what they brought in the country early this week, and I hope we continue to see some brick and mortar fat cattle auctions up there in the Midwest and the Northern Plains. Box beef cutout values were lower again. Choice cuts $300.38 down 134 Monday afternoon, or Tuesday afternoon, excuse me. Selects down 88 cents at 269.48. Your slaughter starting to fall back again. 248,000 estimated harvest through the first 2 days of the week. 3,000 less than last week at this time. 3,000 less than the same week a year ago. DVAuction here, there's my employer, puts out this feeder flash market report, puts out the NationalBeefWire. Of course, our bread and butter is covering production sales, mostly replacement sales. Tons of bull sales, guys. We're in the fall bull sales season right now. October's not one of our biggest months, but I am going to give you the production sale report for October. This does not include our commercial sales that we have pretty much every day of the week except for Sunday, but this is just the production sales that we had in October through the DVAuction bid console. We had online bids of 16,850. That is a ton of bids, guys, online. We sold a total lots of over 3,000, exactly 3,025 lots were sold on DVAuction in our production sales, and online purchases added up to be 13,850,000. If you're planning on having a production sale, or you have regular production sales and you don't have DVAuction doing your online bidding, you're missing out on the number of buyers that we have registered and shopping online at DVAuction.com for replacement bulls and females all the time. So be sure and get a hold of us, and we can take the online bids for your production sale. Talk about what else is going on. Limousine and Lim Flex. If you're looking for genetic change in your cattle herd, consider Limousine and Lim Flex. Let Limousine and Lim Flex take you full circle. For more information, go to NALF.org. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Tuesday, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, sitting at 234.59, down $1.58. We'd made some good recovery since the board pulled the rug out on us 2 weeks ago, but we'd gotten some of that ground back, but now we've lost it again for no fundamental reason at all. Look at some of your big sales on Tuesday. We had Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri, 3,400 head through the ring. Originally had 720 head set to go through the in-house video sale, but with the board the way it was and everything, had a few guys pull out, ended up selling about 400 head on your in-house video there. But your calves through the sale ring were $3 to $6 lower, spots $10 lower for no reason. Yearlings not well tested. It was kind of a hodgepodge sale that you get here deep in the fall of the year down in south central Missouri. Dan Hill noted that they only had 8 drafts of over 20 head. That's a lot of small deals there, and it's a lot of work for those buyers to put loads together and fill orders there. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Philip the Giant. Philip Livestock Auction, Philip, South Dakota. They had 5,100 head when I pulled the information for this market report, and I think they were still selling. But market was lower, sharply lower on some pee-wee weights of calves, and especially on heifer calves for no reason. But you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you see your best tested weights, and they were all calves. 583 head of 4-weight steer calves, average 466 at 327.39. 1,538 head of 5-weight steers in Phillip, average 556 pounds with a weighted average price of 288.42, and 941 head of 6-weight steers, average 638 at 269.87. Look at the heifers, 468 head of 4-weight heifer calves, average 447 at 280.13. 736 head of 5-weight heifer calves had a weighted average weight of 542 pounds and a weighted average price of 257.33. And 316 head of 6-weight heifer calves, average 639 at 242.98. Give you some individual quotes with a humdinger for the top sale of the day. But Torrington livestock markets in Torrington, Wyoming still sell light calves really high. They sold 69 head of little pee-wee steers that weighed 329 and bring 384. Unionville livestock market had some rockin' R's in there. They had 3 loads of them. One load was a stick out deal. There was 62 head of them, weighed 871, backgrounded yearlings at 242. Atkinson livestock market in Atkinson, Nebraska sells 90 head of 638 pound steer calves at 289. That's pretty smoky. But the best quote that I've seen for quite a while, and a big stick out, I mean stick your neck out sale. I haven't seen this, couldn't believe it, had to call the sale and make for sure this is what happened. But your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. It was Konechny cattle, right there, local cattle around Kimball, South Dakota, right off grass, yearlings, 280 head of them, weighed 823 and bring 265 1/4. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.